Hi, this is Emily from Nightclub, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hi, this is Mark from Nightclub, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather. As always, I'm bringing you guys awesome interviews. Today is an honor and privilege to have Emily Kavanaugh and Mark Brooks. They are from the band Nightclub. I'm going to be telling them about their new album, Scary World. Will be out Friday, August the 24th. And you want to pick this up, electronic music, but I got to listen to a couple songs and pretty awesome. I really like Your Addiction. I like that song from you guys very well.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So guys, let's jump right into this. The singles on the album is called Candy Coated Suicide and Your Addiction. What was it about these songs for you guys to say these are going to be the singles? And what stood out about these songs when creating them?
It's always a weird thing because, one person thinks a thing should be a single and then another person thinks. But, I mean, to us, we usually like songs that are memorable, that have a hook to them, that are catchy, that kind of thing. But then also, that are saying something. And in the case of these songs, Candy Coated Suicide came along pretty quickly as opposed to other songs where we're like, this is kind of a standout song on this record. So that one came pretty quickly. And then Your Addiction was a song that was written right at the tail end of making this album, and it sort of jumped out as, I don't know, as far as we were concerned, one of the best songs on the record. And so those both just kind of jumped out to us.
Yeah, we wanted two that, were a little bit different. Like, Candy is a little more rock, a little more kind of upbeat rock, while Your Addiction is a little smoother, a little more electronic, a little more, they're all electronic, but, it's a little more groove oriented as opposed to Candy. So we wanted two singles that were, possessed the same sound and, portrayed what we were trying to say on the record, but also sounded different enough. So we picked those first.
What's impressed you both the most about making this new album? What's caught your eye about it the most, if anything, possibly?
I mean, I think the thing that we both have talked about and feel about this record is this is our most real record that we've made. I mean lyrically, it's the one that just really stood out as we were saying something and it was about something. Mm-hmm. Whereas, sometimes you just write songs and they can come from different places. They could be stories or they could just be an idea or whatever. But this album really came from a kind of a messed up space, but a real space and something that I don't know, we wanted to talk about and we had something to say about.
That pretty much says it for me. It was definitely our most personal record, and we definitely wanted to push ourselves lyrically with this one. We made it a point, hey, we're gonna up our game lyrically, and I think and I hope we succeeded in that this record.
Yeah, our last record for us was a leap towards the sound. We got to finally have a sound that we were we had 3 EPs before the first album, so those EPs kind of were us just kind of getting our legs, making songs together and what the band was and stuff. And then with our first album, full length, we kind of found our sound, but we realized we just wanted to up our game lyrically. And so this album to us is just as interesting sonically, but we were really interested in the lyrics.
That was going to be my next question about the EPs. I know you had EPs previously before this album. Do you like the full album route, or do you like the EP route better?
I personally like making albums more. I just think it's not that an EP isn't, but for me, an album, it just feels like a body of work. It feels like kind of a work of art, an album. Not that an EP can't be, but I don't know, just psychologically, I don't know. I kind of prefer the album.
It's a lot harder to make a good album.
Yeah. And you've got to keep someone's attention for 10 plus songs as opposed to 5. It's definitely way more challenging.
Very true. And a lot of bands are just pumping out EPs. They're going away from the full album length.
Yeah, and a lot of music sucks now.
Yeah. I mean, I can't disagree with that. But there's a lot of good ones out there.
We talk about it. Me and Emily talk about it all the time. We're classic old school souls in that it doesn't matter what the genre is. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. Like, it could be a new sound. It could be a new way of doing it, but you still need to have something to say, and you still need to make something that's good and memorable in some sort of way, either melodically or it's musicality, whatever it is. For us, it's melody and stuff. Like, we want our songs to be extremely melodic. So we don't want any of our songs to just kind of be duds on a record.
Being a two-piece band, do you like it this way, just you two, to bounce off ideas from each other?
Yeah.
I would prefer it no other. I mean, this is the ultimate way for me. I mean, I don't think I could be a solo artist. I think I would go crazy, and I don't think I would do as good of work as a solo artist. You need someone to bounce ideas off of, and I also like that, you know, we're pretty much on the same page about most things, pretty much everything. And then once you start kind of introducing more people into the mix, it gets sort of messy.
And we've been on tour with a lot of bands lately in the last few years, and I've been in bands many times. It's a lot of work to be in a band, and it's juggling a lot of emotions, and it gets in the way of the work. And
we're like the least dramatic band of all time.
we write songs, and we like making albums, and we make videos, and we just concentrate on the work. And there isn't a lot of drama going on between us, and there's not, like, we've been on tour with bands where none of them talk to each other, and that's just a lot of added, frustration to the process. And
maybe give us like 20 years and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. But we've been doing it, 6 years.
Yeah, it's like a significant amount of time, yeah.
Bands break up in 3 years,
Yeah, we're still doing it.
Hell, 2 days, sometimes a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also, there's something about the economy of it too that's great, because it's like when we were like, oh yeah, like Combi Christ asked us to go on tour, and we were like, great, we can just go on their bus. It's 2 bunks, and then it's 2 of us. It's not 5 of us plus another roadie or plus our manager plus, it's like we're able to do things a little more economical and get on tours easier, play shows, get 2 plane tickets, not get 5 plane tickets. There's a lot of things that make it.
We could tour Europe in a 4-door sedan.
Yeah, like we just did. We rented a car and we drove all over Europe for 3 weeks.
That's awesome. That's actually pretty badass.
Yeah, most bands can't do that, but we can do that. And so we like doing that.
Okay, so I'm probably going to be way out in left field when I ask this question, but, who produced this album? I see a person named 3 Chord Scissor King. Who,
that's me.
That's what I figured.
I mean, that's my old moniker from like old bands I was in the 80s and 90s and stuff. So it's just a way to kind of deflect it from being me, It's just like, it's also another way for just like, that's a different part of my brain, like to separate in my brain what I'm doing. Because in the band, I'm a songwriter and an equal partner with Emily, and we just make the music and write everything together. And then the producer part of me is just the guy that has to make it sound good and sit there and figure out ways to sonically make it work.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, when you produce, do you put the producer hat on and you're not Mark, the guy of the band, you're the producer, or how does this work out between you guys?
I don't know. It's not really so much. It's not so linear, It's just that a lot of producing is listening and mixing, and a lot of mixing. And sometimes these songs, I'll mix them maybe 1,000 times, and I'm not even joking. Like, I'll mix them that many times to get to the mix that's the final mix. And that is a different hat than trying to write lyrics or write songs and emote. It's just a different part of your brain. So it's maybe a way for me to just separate it in my own mind, so I don't get overwhelmed.
I can imagine, man. That's a lot of stuff on your plate for both of you to record the album and then plus try to put it out there for yourselves. That's a lot of stuff for 2 people in a band.
Yeah, it is a lot, but it weirdly is, like I just said, it's more economical. It's more economical in like frustration, like because like I've been in bands where there's 5 people and there's a record producer and you're signed to a label and that whole thing. And that's more frustrating.
Yeah.
Because you're not really getting what you want. Like, it's like all it has to really do is impress me or Emily. And if we're both impressed with it or like it and that's the way we want to go, then it's done. Whereas in bands, you got to listen to all these people chiming in. And a lot of the time they're chiming in with the wrong ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of, in a weird way, even though we are doing probably more than a lot of people would do in bands, it's somehow easier because there's just less people to deal with.
How long did it take to record the album, guys?
I would say, I've been saying maybe like around 9 months.
Yeah, probably that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, we finished it at the beginning of May, so I'd say probably 9 months before that we started it. But it's like we have like instrumentals that we've written for past albums that maybe didn't work for that record that we kind of like rehash and make them into new, newer songs. I think we maybe did that once.
Our method is we write tons and tons and tons of instrumentals. We have hundreds and hundreds of them. And then we kind of both just make CDs of them, and we both drive around in our cars and kind of go crazy and listen to them. And certain songs just start to pop out to us, and lyrical ideas and thoughts about what the song is. And so it's not as simple as just like the record started this day and ended this day. Oh, it's pretty clear when it ended, but when it starts is a pretty gray area.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of always happening.
So do you guys have any songs off this album that stand out more to you guys possibly on it? I mean, if you can pick any from the both of you, maybe?
Me personally, I like every song on this record. I'm really proud of this record. I think this record's better than our other records for sure. And one that in particular stands out to me is Scary World, the title track, because it just kind of turned into something bigger than it was when it's finally executed. And it has like a children's choir in the chorus.
Yeah. And
it's one of the few times we've like done something like that, a kind of an extravagant thing. But boy, it really paid off because it just gave the song an otherworldly kind of feel to it.
I think I would say Scary World 2 is probably one of my favorites. But I also think like Survive is cool.
Yeah, the end song on the record is an interesting song because that's also like usually the songs were the most that's when we're having to finish the album because we have a deadline, and that thing literally got done the day the album was due. Jeez. And then so sometimes that could be a horrible predicament, but for some reason that pressure made that song really cool.
That's like cutting it
we
really short.
We have to get this done today. Basically it got written and recorded in a day.
Sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle.
We've never done that before. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But I'm really proud of it.
And I think we picked the first song and the last song because those songs kind of work together on the record.
Mm-hmm.
It's the record kind of has like not that it's a concept album, it's not really, but it is in a way. It's definitely got a through line through the whole thing, and so those songs are kind of the bookends to the whole thing, and that's something that maybe people just hear a single and they're like, oh, they're like a fun dance band or something. It's like, well, then you haven't really listened to the album. It's a lot heavier than that.
How much growth musically have you seen yourselves go through from the EPs to the release of this album, or has it just been more of a personal growth for both of you?
Oh, I'd say that's huge growth.
Yeah. I mean, musically, I think it's grown exponentially. Lyrically, I think it's grown exponentially. I mean, when we first started doing this, like in 2012, I had never been in a band before. I had no experience being a lead singer, didn't think I could do it. And I look at those early years and I kind of like cringe a little bit because I'm like, I just didn't really know who I was as a performer and as a singer. And I can hear it in the recordings. And I was like, I just wasn't as confident when I was delivering lines. Like I just thought it just wasn't there. But I think like in the last couple albums, like Requiem and this one, like I definitely feel like I've grown as a vocalist, like just in the booth. Like I can just turn it on in a second, like in videos, like I seem like I'm more confident. So I think personally, I've definitely grown a lot. And like, I think musically the band has grown a lot too. And obviously we've definitely gotten a few more fans over the years, with these newer albums.
Yeah, it's definitely, as far as people liking the band or knowing the band, it's ramped up a lot since our last album.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we started getting these tours and other things started happening. But I think as far as the growth emotionally and musicality growth, it's been happening the whole time.
Do you guys do anything differently during the writing and recording process, to help keep your minds fresh and open to new stuff and not go down the path to let the music get stale? Do you do anything differently, possibly?
I mean, we definitely allow ourselves time where we're not writing. like right now, like we haven't written a song in months because we just want that time to be inspired by new things. And so we don't want to just keep like rehashing the same song over and over, the same sounds over and over. Like we want to, I think it's essential to give yourself like a break so you can absorb, you know, kind of new inspirations. And so that's what we're doing right now. We're also touring more, so we don't really have time to sit down and make another record. But, you know, I think the problem with a lot of like, you know, mainstream pop artists right now is that it's very single based, and everyone wants to get on the Spotify playlists and, you know, sell a bunch of singles. And so they're kind of just, I don't know, what am I trying to say?
It's like, sort of like, I mean, I think it's sort of the lost art making an album, and maybe we're just old school or stuck in our ways, or I don't know what it is, or we're just off the grid or something. But we really, like in the last two records, have tried to make an album, and to make an album as good as the greats, you know? I don't know if we ever get there, but we're trying. Like, we're trying to make a great album where there's no bad songs on the record. And that takes time. You can't just turn that on. I mean, we throw away hundreds of songs to make 10. And that's just the only way. There's no quick way to do this.
No.
And so it takes time, and then you got to recharge. And touring's a nice kind of diversion, because at least then it becomes about, hey, what's my performing like? Or how are my chops live? Or you start thinking, or what am I wearing? You're not thinking about what is this song about and what are the melodies. And so it's a kind of a good break from it to write an album, be entrenched in it, and then never think about it for a year and then go play some shows.
No, I mean, because, you know, it's like you don't want your last record to sound like your new record. So it's like you definitely need time to, you know, be inspired by new things. And we don't want to just keep, you know, making the same record over and over again. And
yeah, and for like, I mean, I'm going to basically reference bands that I have nothing to do with electronic music or any scene that we're involved in. Most people will probably roll their eyes, but like, to me, like when I think of like Pink Floyd or something, like Roger Waters would sit there for a year, just, you know, dicking around trying to come up with what these things is even about. Like he worked on The Wall for 3 years. Like the reason that album is great is because he spent 3 years on it. Like you can't make great stuff if you don't spend the time, and you've got to also be able to recharge. And the problem with the modern era of everything's on Spotify and it's all about singles and you need things out there every 3 months or people will forget about you. I don't really prescribe to that, and I don't believe that, because I think if you make great albums, you could be gone for 10 years and people will want to hear your new album.
Yep.
You just got to make good albums, and nobody makes good albums anymore because they're so caught up in social media and all this other garbage that's distracting them from making actual art.
So with the old songs that you guys throw away, do you keep them to go back when you start working on new material, or no?
Nah, just hits the dust. It's gone.
Just throw it away and be done
it
with
just bites dust. Once it doesn't work forever for us, kind of. It's hard. Yeah. We rarely revisit. Sometimes. There's been a few occasions, but it's really rare.
What can fans expect at a show from Nightclub who have not got to see you guys live as of yet?
We are not a boring electronic band that stands there behind keyboards.
Yeah, I mean, it's more energy than I think people expect. That's all I'll say about that.
We just hate when bands stand there and play and they don't do anything. It's boring.
Oh, well, sure. I mean, in any metal, rock, punk, whatever, you don't want to just stand there.
Yeah, but you'd be amazed how many electronic bands just stand there and twiddle knobs and they don't move.
No.
Yeah. It's all about the vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boring.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't waste my money to go and just watch somebody stand there. I could just stay at the house and watch them on YouTube or something. You know?
Yeah,
exactly. What's the point?
I mean,
that's basically our thought process when we play shows is we want to make sure that people want to see it again.
Yeah, that's the key thing right there is you want to provide a show. You want that fan to leave and say, damn, I got to go back and see these guys again.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Cool.
For you guys, we're living in the digital era of recording albums and plus social media. Do you like this, to get albums out quicker and plus social media to reach out to more folks who have not got to hear of Nightclub as of yet?
I have really mixed emotions on it. I feel like she basically does all of our social media, and she's really good at it because she makes it's really like it's not just pictures and things like that. It's like she really kind of like gives it a sense of humor and a sense of a soul and a real person, and I think that's really cool. But I personally can't stand social media. It bores me to tears, and I'd rather be making an album.
I mean, but it's essential now as a band to have it.
Yep.
Unless you're already like some established, like, I don't know, band from 1990, whatever. It's not as important, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of important though. But newer bands, like a band starting right now, has to have a social media presence, or it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Like, you need to have an Instagram. You need to have a Twitter. I mean, I think it's stupid, but that's unfortunately the world we live in now.
So I will say, like, we've had a social media presence the whole time.
Yeah.
But what the band took off when the songs got better.
Yeah, number one, it's all about the music and how good it is. And if the music's amazing, you could post, once a month and, whatever. But, I don't know. I mean, I definitely feel like it's important now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, the music has to be great first and foremost, or else nobody's going to care.
In your guys' own opinion, what does Nightclub bring to the table for music that's not out there as of right now, possibly, if anything?
I think, well, a couple things. I think we're bringing back an album. I mean, I'm sure there's other artists doing that as well, but there's not as many as you'd think. I mean, we're bringing back, like, hey, here's a whole album. Listen to this album. Sit with this album. Live with this album. And we made sure that everything on that album was to the best of our ability. We didn't just, just make it and fart it out, We didn't just, it's just not vomit, Like, a lot of times people are like, we got the single. Oh, great. Just round up 9 more songs. Great. It's out, And then you feel, ripped off as a fan. It's like, so I think we give that, but I also think we maybe give something different, a different take on electronics and a different take on a female-led electronic band.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that we're pushing the boundaries of what people expect out of a female-led electronic band or a pop band. Because I'm not, I mean, definitely live, I'm not the girliest of performers, and I definitely like to be more like ruckus and in your face, and I don't know, just kind of different energy, I guess.
And something that I think is missing in a lot of things, which maybe is going to make me sound pretentious, but I just miss songwriting. I just miss really good songwriting, and we work really hard at songs. And I don't know if anyone notices that or not, but we do. And this band is only 2 people. It's not 12 songwriters and a producer. It's 2 people that...
And a record label, and a major label.
Yeah, it's 2 people with their own money out of their own pocket that make albums and try to make something great. I don't know if we achieve it, but we're trying.
That's the goal.
I mean, I know this is a crazy question, but Emily, do you see like there's less lady-fronted electronic bands versus, say, like rock, metal, country, rap, stuff like that? Do you think that there's less female-fronted bands in electronic music right now?
No, I mean, there are a lot that we know of in LA. I mean, I definitely think a lot more females are doing that now. I mean, so yeah, I don't think there are more per se in rock. In fact, I don't know, there might be even more in pop and electronic than rock. But I don't know, it's weird. It's like I don't know if it's what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, definitely like in country music, there's a lot of females in country music. In heavy metal right now, there's a lot of fronted, not heavy metal per se, but like rock, hard rock. Right. There's a lot of female fronted.
Yeah, sure. Right.
But electronic, there's not a ton. There are in LA, but there's not a ton.
There aren't a lot of...
Not fans like us, that's for sure.
There aren't a lot of electronic female producers who are, getting recognized.
That's true.
Obviously there's Grimes, but that's kind of like more in the mainstream, but there aren't a ton. I don't know if it's because they don't exist. I don't think it's because they don't exist. I just think they're not getting the same attention. Yeah,
and it's especially something you see in LA, and I think it's just happening in general music, is like a female that can sing and has a presence and is like, can really command a stage, tends, if they're young enough, tends to be put in a pop spectrum. And they end up working with a bunch of producers, especially in LA. They're very rare to have a female in a band scenario that's competent, that could be doing pop records, but is choosing not to. The late 70s, early 80s, you had a bunch of them. You had Blondie, you had Pretenders, you had like Berlin. You had all these bands with females in them, and that were electronic and whatever, and punk rock and all this stuff. But I feel like people that are really capable of singing well tend to end up working with producers and end up just making pop records.
So for the both of you, what made you want to become a musician? What was that spark that said, yeah, that's what I want to do right there?
Well, for me, I I've always been in music, like, my whole life. My dad was a musician. I took, guitar lessons or taught myself guitar in high school. I took some lessons too. I always kind of sang as a hobby. My parents were both very musical, but I didn't really know I could be a musician. Like, basically I set my mind on music when my dad passed away about 7 years ago. And then I kind of, like, I don't know if it was like a passing of the torch or something, but I just started writing my own songs after he died. And I just sort of made some shitty demo things in GarageBand. And then I met Mark like a month later, and then we started kind of taking the band seriously. And I was like, okay, maybe I can do something with this. But, I've always loved music. I just never really thought I could do it until now. And now I'm all in, but yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I think I was born more of as a visual artist, and that's sort of what my schooling and training and my career and everything has always been, kind of a visual artist. But to me, visual art is a lonely profession, and whereas music is a camaraderie, and you play for people, and there's an instant reaction of playing. And so I kind of found myself drawn to it in early punk rock and new wave, and that bands that basically just were like, you don't even have to be good at music. You just have to get up there and do it. And that sort of inspired me to do it. And then over time, I think I got good, but I started out not knowing anything. And I just kind of love the camaraderie and the world of it. Like, it's people making music, and then there's people in the audience that want to hear that music. And whereas, like, if you paint a painting, you don't even know who bought it, and you didn't make it with anyone. It's just sort of, it's a very lonely thing, a visual artist.
Is there a moment or a show that stands out for the both of you guys that you're saying, man, this is well worth the time and effort that we put into Nightclub? This is what we should be doing.
Yeah, the first time we opened for A Perfect Circle and we got in an arena, and it was like, oh my God, this doesn't happen to a lot of bands, and this is that rarefied air of, like, the opportunity like that. And then the next step past that is like, are we going to bomb? Because there's 15,000 people here, and they're going to think we suck.
Yeah.
And then when we played our first song and they went crazy, and it was like, oh my God, they like us. Like, we pulled it off.
Shocking.
And, it's not easy to do, especially as a duo, to be on a giant stage in a giant arena, and you're opening for a band that's beloved, and nobody cares about your band. So to me, that was a moment, and that happened about 5 months ago or so, or something, 6 months ago. And to me, that just kind of clicked in my brain. Yeah, this is working.
Maybe it was only
4 months ago. Yeah. And that kind of clicked in my brain. Like, wow, that's a pretty cool thing.
That speaks a lot of volume right there when you go on when you're on tour with a huge national band like that, and you guys come up, be an electronic band, like you said, a duo, and you get a huge ovation from the crowd. That's pretty damn good, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty psyched. It's just, it's like with bands, it's like you struggle for a long time, and a lot of times you don't get those moments. And so when you do, I think it takes a pretty humble person to just go, wow, I can't believe that just happened.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm very thankful that just happened, and I can't believe that just happened. And that was an awesome thing. And to kind of sit back and, me and Emily are in like some gym locker, because we're in some basketball arena, and we're like, our backstage room is literally a locker room, and we're just sitting there looking at each other going like, I can't believe that just happened. And that's a cool moment, and I'll always have that moment. That's like, that'll always mean something to me.
I agree.
Okay. So support-wise, guys, is there a country or maybe a place that stands out more or even surprises you guys get support from?
Yeah, like when on this European tour, we showed up in places that we hadn't played ever, like in Hungary and Poland, and all these people knew the words and stuff, and they were singing along to the songs, and that was pretty cool, because we didn't even know we'd sold a record there because we hadn't. So it's like, I guess people are streaming it or watching it on YouTube, and that's how they know it. So it was kind of a surprise to us,
Folks, Nightclub's new album, Scary World, will be released this Friday, August the 24th. So pick this up. like I said, I got to listen to a couple of tracks. And no, I'm not a big electronic guy, but this is actually pretty good. I can actually sit here and listen to the whole album. So, but
yeah, that means a lot to us because that's who we want to appeal to be honest. We want to be the electronic band that people that don't listen to electronic bands go, you know what? We like that band.
Yeah, I mean, I like broadening my horizons on stuff. You know, I do check out all kinds of music, and I do like these 2 songs that you guys got out, Candy Coated Suicide and Your Addiction. They're pretty fucking awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
How can folks stay in touch with you guys? Buy some merchandise, tour dates, tickets, this album. How can they do that?
So our website is nightclubband.com. Pretty much every handle of ours is Nightclub Band. If you want to find us on Facebook or Twitter and Instagram, it's Nightclub Band. And you can order CDs on our website or just, digital, whatever you want.
T-shirts, merch, all that stuff.
Hoodies and everything, the works.
Before I let you guys go, would you care to do a promo for the show?
Sure.
Hi, this is Emily from Nightclub, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hi, this is Mark from Nightclub, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Folks, stick around. We got some great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.